Storm Tracker rates Weather University on WRIC Now is sponsored by Blank & Marcus, attorneys at law.
Good morning. I'm Storm Tracker 8 meteorologist Jacqueline Waters. Today for Weather University, I have Tyler Hall joining us for all about fall talk and also the tropics as we're approaching the peak of hurricane season, which is actually tomorrow, Tyler.
Yeah.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, good morning. Definitely excited to be here for sure to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, excited to have you here with us today. I feel like the summer flew by and
it did.
It went by so quick. And the good news is the tropics haven't been super busy for us,
outside of Debbie, of course.
Yes,
right.
which we like. We don't want a hurricane after hurricane impacting people, but
Tomorrow
is actually the peak of hurricane season.
Yep.
And those sea surface temperatures are they're getting warmer as we head towards the peak, which is tomorrow. So we do have a lot of activity in the tropics right now. So just to start, we have potential tropical cyclone 6, which is in the Gulf of Mexico right now. And you can see this is our current a satellite loop. Not super organized. A lot of moisture, a lot of convection, but you don't see that clear defined eye, and winds right now 50 miles per hour. So that's good that we're not seeing that well-defined eye, but we do know it's moving into those favorable conditions.
Right.
So
very, as you said, very warm sea surface temperatures, low vertical wind shear. It's just a recipe for strengthening.
Yes, yeah. And we do have the hurricane hunters out in potential tropical cyclone 6. It's a little bit wordy. PTC 6 now. And I believe they have 3 flights planned today. They had one earlier this morning. They have one in there now. And then also one later. And that helps us because, as we know, we don't have radars out in the middle of the ocean. And a lot of times we need this data to help us see exactly what's happening. So you can see the flight path out of Biloxi in is it Mississippi or Louisiana? Biloxi? Mississippi, that's what I thought. And winds, you could see it there on the top. Not super strong, but there are times where it does. You see those max winds, 49 miles per hour, wind speeds, 46 miles per hour, broken clouds. So they are continuing to gather data, send it back, and our next advisory comes out in about 15 minutes. So we should get a lot more detail on that. So that will be something certainly that Tyler and I will be looking at over after this. But also the current cone, you could see it is forecast to strengthen into a tropical storm. I think it's going to strengthen into that later today. What do you think, Tyler? Later today, possibly?
Yeah, I think so. It'll obviously depend on the 11 a.m. advisory, and if it's not upgraded to a tropical storm, then certainly this afternoon at 5 o'clock, I'm sure it will be. Yeah,
so... And it is unfortunately forecast to strengthen into a Category 1 storm early Wednesday morning before making landfall in the Gulf Coast of Louisiana. So we're keeping our eyes on it. We're watching it closely. Right now, it doesn't look like it will give us any direct impacts. It possibly could bring a few showers for this weekend, rather. But right now, it looks like it's just going to continue to push north near St. Louis and then dissipate.
Right. Yeah.
But I was looking at a lot this morning, the different variables and whether it's going to strengthen or weaken. And I do think we could see changes in that cone, unfortunately, as this is our hurricane index model, and those bright reds show those highly favorable conditions for strengthening. And you could see as we head into Wednesday, it only gets brighter and that area just gets wider because, as Tyler mentioned, we have that low wind shear, which hurricanes, you don't want a lot of wind shear because then it just breaks them up. And also the warm sea surface temperatures. It is just like a pool of bath water in the Gulf right now.
It is.
Middle to upper 80s, that is not good for hurricanes because that just strengthens them even more. We know that's really the main driving factor of development. So, unfortunately, I think we are going to see updates on that cone. Hopefully we don't. Hopefully it doesn't doesn't strengthen, but something, again, we are closely watching. So we'll keep you updated.
Yeah.
And if it does develop into a named storm, which it likely will, depending on if it does later today or tomorrow, next on the list is Francine. So we're expecting an above average season. And although it's been pretty quiet, we still have a long ways to go, November 30th. And we've had 3 hurricanes, Beryl, Debbie, Ernesto, and Chris and Alberto were just the tropical storms. But Francine next on the list, and we do have 2 other areas we're watching out in the ocean as well. But Do you want to talk about this a little bit, Tyler?
Yeah, so I'm sure these later today or later this week certainly will get a investigation area probably tagged onto them if they haven't already. And with them having at least a medium, potentially a high chance later on in the week, I'm sure these eventually will get additional names. So yeah, things certainly picking up steam out there just in time. We all know September is a very busy month, climatologically speaking, or statistically. Same with October as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on things very close in the next several weeks, basically.
Yes, and one thing also I know Tyler just got in for the day, so he didn't have time to look over a lot of the new updates. I know you were in last night, but it looks like if these do develop, the good news is they will steer offshore. So that's good news. Things can change, of course, and that's why we're here watching things, but I think it's something to watch. I don't think it's anything to worry about yet. So that's certainly good news. And, of course, we'll keep you updated. But also, one of my favorite things about September, I know Tyler knows, probably everyone knows, and they're probably so sick of me, fall. Fall begins. I've had a countdown probably starting 6 months ago. And now we're at 13 days. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Funny. I had a pumpkin spice latte this morning. I'm just into the fall. I love fall so much. Do you love fall, Tyler?
I do. I think definitely the favorite part of fall for me is football season. I'm a huge Patriots fan, huge NFL fan. I'm really, really happy that football's back in full swing. Yes. But yeah, of course, the cooler nights, the warm afternoons still. The changing of the leaves, all that good stuff.
I'm excited for football this year, too, only because I have a fantasy team.
Right, yeah, we do have a fantasy team.
Yes, so I'm excited about that. I didn't do so well yesterday, but...
I didn't either. It's okay.
Well, hopefully next week we'll do better. But one of my other favorite things is fall foliage. And luckily, there's no fall foliage fantasy league. But we are... it is so pretty out here in Virginia. I just love fall foliage. That's one thing I missed so much when I was in Hawaii because we don't really have the seasons.
Okay.
It's
that makes sense.
It's just summer and winter based on surfing, really.
Right.
But fall foliage, one of my favorite things. I know so many of us love it. And I just wanted to show you a fall foliage forecast. So usually across central Virginia, I'm not talking about the western part of the state because we know it's cooler there. They have the mountains. We usually start to see that peak around mid-October. And that's really what the forecast is showing as well. So something to look forward to. The 13 days away from the start of fall, but still a bit of ways away from the peak of fall foliage. But super excited about it. I love it. And also, obviously, the further west you get in the state, the earlier you see that peak because of the cooler temperatures and all those different weather impacts, basically. But yeah, that's something to look forward to. And I figured today we would just talk a little bit about the chemistry. I don't want to go deep in all the chemistry things because I'm not a chemist. Tyler's not a chemist, and it could get very
technical.
Yes,
we don't want that.
No, maybe in a future episode. But we had a lot of tropics to talk about as well. So just wanted to give you a little rundown of it. Basically, why you see the colors, the leaves change colors, is because we're changing the season. Obviously, we know the longest day out of the year is in the summer. The days just keep getting shorter. So we get less sunlight, less direct sunlight, and chlorophyll in the leaf, which is basically what gives us those greens, those yellows, and it's what's basically around all summer long. The growing season, it starts to break down. And it starts to break down because we're changing seasons, and we're getting those cool nights, those warm, sunny fall days, and less intense sunlight. So that's basically the basics of why we see the colors change. There's all different chemicals that make up the different colors in the fall foliage, but that's basically why the leaves change colors and then they fall. And then also, there are a couple of things that we don't want to see because they'll make those colors less vibrant. Right. So we know we want a wet, basically, pattern, and unfortunately we have been pretty dry. So
we have been, that's a concern here. For sure.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully get a good dosing of rain here soon, but you want a lot of moisture. You want it to be a wet season because that just makes it more vibrant. And if you have really, it's not even just the drought, but any extreme weather, it just makes those fall foliage not as vibrant, not as beautiful and brilliant. Right. So we do want to see some more rain. Luckily, we did have a pretty wet year, so I think
we did, yeah, especially in the spring months.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay. Hopefully, no major things change here all the way through October. And also the temperatures. The temperatures definitely play a role. You want those cooler temperatures to show the more vibrant colors. So you want those seasonable fall warm days, those cool, crisp nights, and you don't want super extreme heat because that will make things less vibrant as well.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of things play into why we see the certain colors and the leaves changing colors, and also the weather plays a role in that too. So just basically a basic of that, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Tyler? Hopefully I made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a multitude of factors that go into having an ideal or not ideal foliage season, right? So weather plays a role in everything, right? We think of including fall foliage. So yeah, fingers crossed, as Jacqueline mentioned earlier, we get some good rain later on this month. You want like a good dosing of rain and dry, wet and dry conditions rather, for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So just looking ahead the next 8 days, I know October is not 8 days away, but just wanted to show you, if you guys missed Good Morning Richmond, we are looking at pretty seasonable temperatures.
We are. Yeah.
Which, that's good. We don't want those warm days, as I just mentioned. And I love this type of weather. I'm just all about the fall. And 80s, I open my windows. The only downfall is the ragweed. I've been struggling with the allergies.
Yeah, I think I've been too, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so the temperatures are on our side, but unfortunately, we don't have really any rain in the forecast.
No.
So that's the downfall with the allergies, but also we do want some rain because that will just make things more vibrant as we get into fall foliage. Also, one thing I didn't mention is we don't want a windy day before we really see the peak of a very windy day, because we don't want the leaves to blow off the trees before we
Correct.
see the peak.
Yeah.
So that's another factor too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the next 8 days. Honestly, it looks beautiful. We need rain, so that's the only not beautiful thing on that 8 day, because also the ragweed is out there and it's
Right.
hurting me.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, we could get some moisture associated with PTC 6 by next weekend or this upcoming weekend, so we'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we have today. Do you have anything else you want to share, Tyler?
No. Yeah, so obviously we'll be keeping you posted on air and online when it comes to the tropical activity and your latest 8-day forecast.
Yeah, really quick, I'm just going to see if we have the newest advisory out for PTC, just because it should be coming out at 11.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Sometimes it does come in early. Let me just go back here. I should have put it on loop. But our next advisory does come out at 11, so I'm curious to see if we got the update here. Just give me like 60 more seconds.
And speaking of temperatures, Jacqueline, I don't know if you've been seeing this, but based on what I've been seeing in the computer weather model data in recent days, I think it is fair to say that we're done with 90-degree temperatures in Central Virginia for this year, right?
Yes.
Unless we get a late summer or early fall ridge of high pressure that's strong enough that leads to really hot weather. It's been an incredibly hot summer, as we all know.
Yes, it has. And again, 13 days till fall. We're almost there. Unfortunately, our next advisory did not come in, so the 11 a.m. advisory should be in the next couple of minutes, but we will keep you updated. And yeah, that's pretty much all we had today. Yeah, that's really it. I'm excited for fall. I'll say it 80 more times probably until fall starts. But thanks so much for joining today, Tyler. It was great to have you, and thank you all.
Great to be here. Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us as well. Have a great day.